Research shows touch activates the brain's reward system within milliseconds, but most men unknowingly trigger her rejection reflex instead. What separates a forgettable embrace from one she replays for days? Listen, this isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding a language you were never taught to speak. Touch is the oldest form of human communication, older than words, older than civilization. Your ancestors survived because they understood what a touch meant. Whether it signaled safety or threat, trust or invasion, you've lost that fluency and it's costing you more than you realize. Every hug is a test. She doesn't know she's administering it. You don't know you're taking it. But her nervous system is reading every micro movement of your hands, every hesitation, every ounce of pressure, every second of duration. Her limbic brain is asking a question you can't hear. Is this man confident or desperate? Grounded or grasping? Present or performing? The answer determines everything that follows. This matters because most men approach physical touch with women from a place of scarcity. They're either too timid, creating no polarity at all, or too eager, broadcasting need like a frequency that repels. Both extremes communicate the same underlying truth: uncertainty about your own value. And uncertainty is the death of attraction. Women don't consciously choose who they're attracted to based on touch alone, but their bodies do. The somatosensory cortex processes touch faster than conscious thought. By the time she's aware of how your hug felt, her attraction levels have already shifted. You need to understand this because the men who grasp this language move through the world differently. They create emotional experiences that linger. They generate curiosity instead of conclusions. They touch in ways that feel like calm certainty rather than anxious hoping. This is why this matters. Not because you need tricks or techniques, but because you need to align your physical presence with the groundedness you claim to embody. The neuroscience is straightforward. When skin makes contact with skin, C-actile afferents activate. These are specialized nerve fibers that respond to gentle, slow touch. They send signals directly to the posterior insula, the part of your brain responsible for emotional awareness and interception. This is the neurological pathway of intimacy. But here's what most people miss. The posterior insula doesn't just process the physical sensation of touch. It integrates that sensation with context, memory, and emotional state. It's asking, does this touch match the emotional tone of this moment? Does it feel congruent with who this person appears to be? Incongruence triggers alarm. A study from University College London found that touch perceived as uncertain or incongruent activates the anterior cingulate cortex, the brain's error detection system. It's the same region that fires when something feels off, when the math doesn't add up, when someone's words don't match their energy. Your hesitant touch is an error signal. Your overly eager touch is an error signal. Both broadcast the same message: internal conflict. Now consider the alternative. Confident touch, the kind that's neither rushed nor timid, activates the ventral striatum. That's the brain's reward center, the same region that lights up with food, sex, and accomplishment. Except touch does something unique. It doesn't just activate reward circuitry in the person being touched. It activates it in both people simultaneously. This is called an affective synchrony. Your calm certainty becomes her felt experience. But this only works if your touch comes from internal congruence. If you're touching her to get something, to prove something, to manufacture an outcome, her nervous system detects the transaction. The touch feels transactional because it is, and transactional touch repels. There's a reason for this. Evolutionary psychology suggests that women developed heightened sensitivity to touch as a survival mechanism. In ancestral environments, the ability to read intention through physical contact was life or death information. A touch that felt uncertain could mean danger. A touch that felt possessive could mean entrapment. Her body still carries that ancient wisdom. She's not consciously judging your hug, but her autonomic nervous system is taking notes. Research from the University of Dundee shows that women can identify male emotional states through touch alone with over 70% accuracy. They can feel anxiety, neediness, aggression, confidence, all without seeing your face or hearing your voice. Your hands tell the truth. Your mouth tries to hide. This is why technique without inner work fails. You can memorize where to place your hands. You can time the duration perfectly. But if the underlying frequency is off, if you're still operating from scarcity or performance anxiety, the touch will betray you. She'll feel the gap between your action and your state, and that gap is what kills attraction. So what does the right touch actually look like? Not the performance of it, the essence of it. Imagine this. You're standing in a dim room, warm light from a single lamp, the kind of lighting that softens edges, makes everything feel slower. You've just said something that made her laugh. Not a polite laugh, a real one. The kind where her shoulders drop slightly and her guard lowers for half a second. She steps in for a hug. This is the moment most men ruin. They either freeze, hands hovering awkwardly at her sides like they're afraid to commit, or they grab too quickly, pulling her in with an urgency that screams need. Both destroy the moment. But you don't do either because you understand something fundamental. A hug is not a transaction. It's not a step in a sequence. It's not a tactic to escalate. It's a shared moment of presence. And presence cannot be faked. You step in, not fast, not slow, at the exact speed that matches the energy of the moment. Your arms move with intention. One hand naturally finds the middle of her back. Not too high, not too low, right where her rib cage ends and her lower back begins. This placement is critical. Too high feels platonic, like you're hugging your sister. Too low feels presumptuous, like you're claiming territory you haven't earned. The middle back is the zone of calibrated boldness. Your other hand rests between her shoulder blades. Firm contact, not gripping, not hovering, just resting there with the weight of certainty. This is where most men fail. They either press too hard, trying to demonstrate strength, or they barely make contact, afraid of seeming aggressive. Both communicate the same thing. You're thinking about the hug instead of being in it. Your touch should feel like gravity, inevitable, natural, requiring no thought. Here's what happens next. You don't pull her in, you let the hug happen. There's a difference. Pulling communicates need. Allowing communicates abundance. She leans into you because the space you've created feels safe enough to enter. And this is the paradox. The less you grasp, the more she leans in. Now pay attention to the pressure. Your hands aren't limp. They're not aggressive. They apply consistent, even pressure. The kind that says, I'm here. I'm present. I'm not going anywhere until this moment naturally concludes. Research on haptic communication shows that consistent pressure activates parasympathetic nervous system responses. It signals safety. The same way a weighted blanket calms anxiety, the same way deep pressure therapy soothes autistic children. Your consistent pressure is her nervous system's cue to relax. But here's where it gets interesting. Most men maintain the same pressure throughout the entire hug. Same intensity, same placement. This creates a flatline experience. No emotional arc, no memorable peak. You're going to do something different. About 2 seconds in, you're going to shift. Not dramatically, subtly. Your hand on her lower back is going to apply slightly more pressure. Not a squeeze, not a grab, just a barely perceptible increase, like you're drawing her 1 mm closer. This tiny escalation does something powerful. It creates contrast. And contrast is what the brain remembers. A study from the Max Planck Institute found that memory encoding for touch is strongest when there's variation in pressure or location. Static touch, no matter how pleasant, fades quickly from memory. Dynamic touch lingers. That subtle pressure shift is the difference between a hug she forgets in 3 minutes and one she thinks about at 2 a.m. But you're not done. Your hand between her shoulder blades is going to move slowly. So slowly she almost doesn't notice. It's going to slide up just a few inches toward the base of her neck. This movement should take 3 full seconds. Any faster and it feels rushed. Any slower and it feels creepy. 3 seconds. That's the rhythm of confident escalation. When your hand reaches the base of her neck, your fingers naturally spread slightly. You're not gripping her neck. You're not pulling her hair. Your hand is simply resting there with your fingers barely making contact with the sides of her neck. This is one of the most intimate zones on the human body. The neck contains the carotid artery, the jugular vein. In evolutionary terms, exposing your neck to someone is an act of trust. Having someone's hand near your neck triggers ancient circuitry related to vulnerability. When you touch her there with that specific combination of slowness and certainty, you're activating something primal. Her body reads it as dominance without aggression, strength without threat, masculine polarity without performance. But here's the critical part. Your energy throughout all of this has to remain calm, not excited, not nervous, not trying, calm. Your breathing stays slow. Your body stays relaxed. You're not holding tension in your shoulders or your jaw. You're not mentally rehearsing what comes next. You're just here in this moment with her. That presence is what she feels, not your technique, not your hand placement, your state. Research from the field of interpersonal neurobiology shows that humans are constantly regulating each other's nervous systems through proximity and touch. If you're anxious, she becomes anxious. If you're present, she becomes present. Your calm is contagious. This is why inner work matters more than tactics. You can execute every physical detail perfectly, but if your internal state is chaotic, if you're performing instead of being, she'll feel the dissonance. And dissonance repels. Now the hug is reaching its natural conclusion. This is where most men make their second mistake. They either hold on too long trying to extend the moment past its organic endpoint, or they pull away too quickly, as if they're embarrassed or afraid of what they just did. Both options communicate insecurity. You're going to do neither. You're going to feel the moment when her body starts to naturally create space. It's subtle. A tiny shift in her weight, a slight decrease in her lean. Her nervous system is signaling that the hug has reached completion. You're going to honor that signal, not reluctantly, not eagerly, neutrally. Your hands are going to slide down her back as you step back, not quickly, not slowly, at the exact pace that mirrors her withdrawal. Your hands maintain light contact all the way down until your fingertips are the last point of connection, trailing off just above her hips. This trailing off is critical. It extends the sensory memory of the touch. It creates a lingering effect like the sustain pedal on a piano. The note continues to resonate even after you've lifted your hands from the keys. She'll feel that resonance for the next hour, maybe longer. And here's what happens in her mind. She won't consciously think, that was a great hug. She'll think, there's something about him. That vague sense of intrigue is infinitely more powerful than any explicit thought. Explicit thoughts can be analyzed and dismissed. Vague intrigue creates curiosity, and curiosity is the foundation of attraction. You've just planted a seed, not through manipulation, through congruence. Your touch matched your energy. Your energy matched your state. Your state reflected internal groundedness, and groundedness is magnetic. But let's address the shadow side because this knowledge can be weaponized. Some men will read this and see tactics. They'll memorize the hand placements. They'll time the pressure shifts. They'll execute the technique flawlessly while internally remaining desperate, needy, and outcome dependent. And it won't work because women don't respond to choreography. They respond to authenticity. The technique only amplifies what's already there. If you're grounded, the technique makes that groundedness palpable. If you're insecure, the technique makes that insecurity more obvious. This is why most pickup artistry fails. It teaches men to perform confidence without cultivating actual confidence. It's theater, and eventually the curtain falls. What we're discussing here is different. This is about bringing your physical expression into alignment with your internal state. It's about eliminating the gap between who you are and how you show up. That elimination is what creates effortless attraction. So before you practice any of this, ask yourself a harder question. Why do you want this to work? If the answer is because I need her to like me, because I need validation, because I need to prove I'm desirable, then stop. Work on that need first because neediness will leak through every touch, every word, every gesture, and no technique can mask it. But if the answer is because I want to become a man who moves through the world with presence, who creates experiences rather than chasing outcomes, who touches from abundance rather than scarcity, then continue because that's the path that leads somewhere real. One final thing. The hug we just described isn't a formula to apply to every woman in every situation. Context matters. Calibration matters. Some hugs should be brief and platonic. Some moments don't call for any physical contact at all. The skill isn't in memorizing one perfect hug. The skill is in reading the moment and responding with congruence. Sometimes that means the slow, intentional touch we described. Sometimes it means a quick, warm embrace with no escalation. Sometimes it means no hug at all. Wisdom is knowing the difference. And that wisdom comes from presence, from being so rooted in your own experience that you can accurately read hers, from having done enough inner work that you're not projecting your needs onto every interaction. This is the real work, not hand placement, not timing. Becoming a man whose touch naturally communicates what words cannot. Strength without force, desire without desperation, presence without performance. That's the frequency women feel. That's the frequency they remember. That's the frequency that changes everything. Here's what no one tells you. Attraction isn't created in moments of intensity. It's created in moments of calibrated restraint. The man who can touch her with intention and then let go without grasping is the man she can't stop thinking about because he's demonstrated something rare. Self-possession. And self-possession is the only thing that can't be faked over time. Your hug doesn't make her want you. It makes her curious about the man who touches like he has nothing to prove. And curiosity is how desire begins. Not with force, with space, not with taking, with allowing. Master that and you won't need another video on attraction. You'll be the answer women are searching for. Even if they don't know how to articulate what they're looking for, your presence will articulate it for